Everyone thought Batman 1966 was just campy fun with bright colors, silly villains, and family TV innocence. Behind the scenes, one actor nearly suffocated in her costume, another used the show for revenge, and the studio? They were ready to sacrifice anyone for ratings. Can you guess who they betrayed? Let's uncover 15 wild secrets the Batcave never wanted you to know. And trust me, they'll shock you. Fact 1. Robin was nearly killed on set multiple times. You think being Robin was fun? Man, it was hell. Burt Ward wasn't just running around yelling, "Holy smokes!" He was dodging real explosions, breathing in smoke and bleeding for the show. The studio didn't want to pay for a stunt double, so they made the 20-year-old kid do everything himself. There's this one story. His first day in the Batmobile. The passenger door flies open mid-take, the car's moving fast, and he almost gets launched onto the pavement. Another time, a pyro gag misfired. The blast singed his hair and melted part of his cape. He got hit in the face with a 2x4 during an explosion scene, cracked a tooth, bruised his ribs, and still had to keep smiling because Batman doesn't show pain. He later joked the call sheet should have said, "Get hurt again today." But the truth is darker. Warner Brothers kept pushing because the ratings were gold and Ward was replaceable. No one cared he was risking his life for a comic book punchline. Fact 2. The Catwoman costume that was pure torture. Julie Newmar made Catwoman look like a fantasy, but off-screen, that costume was straight-up hell. What fans didn't realize was that her glittering black suit wasn't made of leather or latex. It was lame, a metallic fabric used in theater, never meant to be worn under hot studio lights. It was tight enough to squeeze her lungs, heavy enough to trap heat, and shiny enough to reflect every glare the director wanted. Once zipped in, Julie was basically imprisoned. She couldn't sit or bend without tearing it. During long shooting days, she'd lean against a wall between takes or kneel on the floor because chairs weren't an option. Crew members later admitted that she sometimes unzipped the back just to breathe for a few seconds before being called back to set. The real acting, she joked years later, was pretending I could breathe. But it wasn't just uncomfortable. It was dangerous. Under the relentless studio lights, temperatures on set could hit 100 degrees. Newmar often came off set drenched in sweat, dizzy and dehydrated. Yet she refused to let anyone see her struggle. Her sacrifice paid off. That catsuit became one of the most iconic images of the 1960s television, inspiring generations of actresses from Michelle Pfeiffer to Zoe Kravitz. In interviews decades later, Newmar admitted she helped design the suit herself, sketching a silhouette that would move like liquid sin. She wanted to embody danger and desire all at once. And she did. Fact 3. The day Vincent Price snapped and threw an egg at Robin. Now this one's just insane. During Season 3, the legendary Vincent Price, yes, the horror icon himself, played Egghead, one of Batman's weirdest villains. He was charming, classy, and completely unpredictable. And one day, he snapped. They were filming a fight scene with Burt Ward, cameras rolling, everyone in position. Suddenly, Price grabs a real egg from the prop table, smashes it in his hand, and hurls it straight at Ward's face, splattered everywhere. The crew froze. Ward stormed off set, furious. No one knew if it was a prank or an ego trip. Price later shrugged it off. It was improv. But Ward never bought it. He said it felt like a power move, like Price wanted to show who really ran the scene. The footage stayed in the final cut, by the way. You can literally see the moment he gets hit. Fact 4. Frank Gorshin's rebellion that almost destroyed Batman. You remember that manic laugh, the twisted grin, the flashing eyes, the wild green suit covered in question marks. Frank Gorshin was the Riddler. He wasn't just acting, he was possessed. His energy practically lifted the whole show. But behind the brilliance was a ticking time bomb. He was furious about his paycheck. By season 2, Batman was one of the biggest hits on television. Ratings were through the roof, merchandise was everywhere, and everyone, from Adam West to the toy companies, was making money. Everyone except Gorshin. Despite being the first villain ever featured on the show, he was earning a fraction of what his co-stars made. He asked for a raise. A fair one. But ABC and Greenway Productions didn't want to hear it. They told him no. Flat out. So Gorshin did what the Riddler would do. He vanished. He walked away mid-season, right when the show needed him most. The network scrambled and replaced him with a cheap knockoff called The Puzzler, a Shakespeare-quoting villain so dull that even the crew rolled their eyes during filming. Fans noticed immediately. Ratings dipped. The chemistry was gone. When Gorshin finally came back for season 3, the damage was done. He'd proven his point but lost his magic. Hollywood didn't reward rebels. It blacklisted them. Behind the grin, he knew it. The Riddler could outsmart Batman, but not the studio system that owned him. Fact 5. When Batman became a sex symbol and the set turned wild. Here's something nobody expected. Batman got sexy. Adam West and Burt Ward went from comic book heroes to overnight heartthrobs. Teen magazines, screaming fans, women showing up at hotels. It was hysteria. But behind the smiles, the fame was straight-up chaos. Ward once said the fan mail got so graphic that ABC had to screen it before he opened it. West wasn't any safer. Women literally knocked on his trailer door between scenes. It was the 1960s, when two single guys in skin-tight costumes becoming every fan's fantasy. The network hated it. They wanted family television, but their leads had become tabloid candy. The more the studio tried to hide it, the worse it got. Ward later said, "We fought crime on set and temptation off it." It sounds funny now, but it nearly ruined their reputations. Fact 6. The Joker's secret mustache. He refused to shave. Have you ever looked close at Cesar Romero's Joker? Like really close? That white paint isn't as smooth as it looks, because underneath it, there's a full mustache. Cesar Romero's Joker had a mustache, a real one. Why, long before, Romero was a matinee heartthrob, the Latin lover of the 1930s and 40s Hollywood. He built his image on that signature pencil-thin mustache. It was his brand. When Batman producers cast him as the Joker in 1966, they asked him to shave it for the role. He laughed, literally. "That mustache stays," he told them. "It's part of me." The makeup team was horrified, but the clock was ticking and Romero was a star. So they did what they had to. They painted over it. Thick white grease paint, layer after layer, trying to hide the dark stubble underneath. On old TVS, it worked fine. But in high definition today, you can see it. The faint outline of whiskers twitching every time he smiles. Producers hated it, but Romero didn't care. To him, Batman was a paycheck and a playground. He'd show up on set, charm everyone, deliver that manic energy, and vanish to play golf between scenes. Ironically, that stubborn mustache helped make his Joker unforgettable. It gave the character a strange, unsettling texture, a reminder that under the clown was a man who refused to compromise. Fact 7. The 21-day Batmobile that nearly bankrupted its creator. Picture this. You're a car designer, and someone tells you, you've got 3 weeks to build the most famous car in TV history. That was George Barris in 1965. He didn't have time or money to start fresh, so he took an old 1955 Lincoln Futura and turned it into the Batmobile. 21 days, sleepless nights, non-stop welding, and a prayer. The result looked legendary. But behind the scenes, that thing was a nightmare. The car overheated constantly, the gadgets broke, The paint bubbled under studio lights. During one scene, the jet flame at the back almost torched a camera operator. And Barris, he lost so much money fixing and maintaining it that he joked the real villain was the budget. But somehow the chaos paid off. That rushed, janky car became a pop culture icon worth millions today. Fact 8. The BAM, pow, whack trick that saved Batman from censorship. Those cartoon bubbles. BAM, pow, whack. They look like campy fun, right? Wrong. They were a cover-up. In the 60s, TV censors were panicking about violence on screen, especially in shows kids might watch. They told Batman to tone down the punches, the hits, everything. So the producers came up with a brilliant, ridiculous fix. Every time someone got punched, they'd cut to a comic-style word explosion. The result turned censorship into art. Those bright words became part of Batman's identity, the reason every fight scene felt like stepping into a comic panel. Of course, not everyone loved it. Some critics said it turned Batman into a joke, but that's what made it genius. It mocked its own limits. They took a rule meant to silence them and made it unforgettable. Fact 9. The chocolate milk ad that turned a nobody into Batman. Before Adam West was Gotham's savior, he was a guy in a goofy Nestle Quick commercial. No cape, no Batmobile, just a slick spy parody selling chocolate milk. But when the producers saw that ad, something clicked. He played it straight while surrounded by absurdity. Exactly what they wanted for Batman. So the most iconic superhero on television was hired because of a milk commercial. Hollywood is weird like that. West wasn't famous, wasn't even on the studio's radar. But that square jaw, that dead serious tone, they knew he could sell the madness. He dove into the camp with total sincerity. That was the secret. It's crazy to realize that one 30-second ad built a legend. From chocolate milk to The Dark Knight. Talk about a career jump. Fact 10. Gotham was actually St. Louis. You remember that big glowing map in the Batcave? The one Batman and Robin used to track criminals? Yeah, about that. It wasn't Gotham. It was St. Louis, Missouri. The prop department was short on time and cash, so they grabbed a real city map, flipped it upside down, slapped some neon lights on it, and boom, Gotham City. Nobody thought anyone would notice. But decades later, sharp-eyed fans figured it out. It's hilarious and kind of genius at the same time. They literally recycled America into Gotham. What's wild is that every time Batman looked at that map, he was technically solving crimes. In the Midwest. Fact 11. The famous wall climb was a total illusion. You know those scenes where Batman and Robin scale a building, ropes in hand, defying gravity like it's nothing? Yeah, that wasn't real climbing. It was camera trickery. The crew built the set sideways, tilted the camera 90 degrees, and had Adam West and Burt Ward just walk normally, pretending to pull themselves up. Simple, brilliant, and totally fake. But the magic didn't stop there. Guest stars like Sammy Davis Jr. or Jerry Lewis would pop their heads out of windows, which were actually doors cut into the sideways set. That's how they created the illusion of celebrities living in random Gotham skyscrapers. It cost next to nothing and became one of the show's most beloved gags. People swore it looked real. And that's the fun of it. Fact 12. The studio that killed its own show. This one still blows people's minds. Batman didn't die because fans got bored. It was murdered by its own network. By the third season, ratings were solid, not record-breaking, but steady. ABC wanted to cut costs and canceled it anyway, assuming nobody else would pick it up. Then NBC called, ready to rescue the show. They had the budget, the time slot, everything. But there was one problem. The Batcave was gone. ABC had already destroyed the entire set. Dismantled, dumped, hauled away. Rebuilding it would have cost a fortune, so NBC walked. Just like that, One of the biggest TV hits of the decade was dead because of stupidity. Even Adam West couldn't believe it. He said it felt like watching Gotham get blown up for real. Fact 13. The villains so weird they changed comic history. Here's something nobody talks about. Batman didn't just bring comic villains to life. It created new ones. Egghead, King Tut, Bookworm. They weren't in the comics. They didn't even exist in DC's plans. But the actors went so hard, the characters became legends. Take Vincent Price's Egghead, that bald head, that posh accent, throwing eggs like bombs. It was ridiculous, but unforgettable. Same with King Tut, this Egypt-obsessed professor who believed he was a pharaoh. It was comedy, but it worked. Fans loved them. And DC noticed. Within a few years, these made-for-TV jokes officially entered the Batman canon. That's how powerful the show was. It didn't just adapt the comics, it rewrote them. Fact 14. The day Batman stopped being dark forever. When Batman was first pitched, it was supposed to be noir, shadowy alleys, detective stories, mobsters, danger. But ABC didn't want dark. They wanted bright, loud, and family-friendly. So they stripped out the grit and flooded Gotham with neon. It turned tragedy into comedy, violence into slapstick, and fear into laughter. Viewers didn't take it seriously. And that's exactly why it became iconic. Of course, not everyone was happy. DC purists called it a clown show. Critics mocked the dialogue, but it broke boundaries. The first superhero series that dared to laugh at itself. Without that camp, superhero TV might have stayed grim and boring for decades. Fact 15. The secret voice that fooled millions. Every kid from the 60s remembers it. That booming voice. Tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. It sounded like the voice of God. But guess what? It wasn't an actor. It was the producer. William Dozier, the man running the show, couldn't find anyone dramatic enough for the narration. After auditioning a bunch of pros, he gave up and did it himself. Under the alias Desmond Doomsday, he became the hidden heartbeat of Batman. That deep, over-the-top delivery wasn't just style. It was the glue that held the insanity together. Every cliffhanger, every punchline, every holy catastrophe, his voice made it feel like a comic book coming alive. And here's the kicker. Nobody knew it was him for years. Now you know what really happened behind Gotham's glitter. But tell me, which secret do you think the studio still hasn't confessed? Leave a comment, hit subscribe, and stay tuned. The next story might be even darker.